Are you ready to do this, Matt?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton. My co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 205. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on the website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button, and you can get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Matt, it has been a week. How are you?
Man, it has been a week, and I'm doing great.
Ooh, I
Life
love that.
is good. Well, I mean, I'm doing well.
Okay.
Life is good. Life is good. It has been a week, man. It has been a week. I was pondering today. And I thought, what happened this week? And then I thought about it, and a lot of things happened this week. But I will start with I got my iPhone 12
Oh,
that I
yeah.
pre-ordered. So I got that this week. For those who want to know, it's very nice. I love it. And it's a new iPhone. So you get what you get with it. I know you're not an iPhone guy, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
It's fine with me. I don't
Yep.
care.
Can I just say,
Um,
people that still, do the whole, I'm an iPhone guy, I'm an Android guy when it comes to phones, I think we're just past that. Does it really
aren't
make a
we?
difference? It's pick which ecosystem you like and go live in it.
Love it. I'm in.
Nice.
I am in. And so we got we got a cold front for like a real cold front
What constitutes a
this
cold front
week.
in San
For
Antonio?
us, when it jumps from like 85 to the 60s, that's a cold front.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. And then
Hmm.
tonight, I can hear the wind now, and we're getting another one. It's supposed to be like 54 tomorrow. For us,
Wow.
that's like whoa, whoa, baby. It's time
Mm.
for Christmas. Not
Okay.
even time for Halloween. That's Christmas time.
Right.
So that's been exciting. It's always nice, and it's raining finally. It has been so hot and sunny here like all fall so far. Um and so it's nice to finally get a little change in the weather, a little change of seasons that you can actually kind of feel
Yeah.
and see. So that was nice. Um we exposed Emmy to Casper the Friendly Ghost this weekend. That was the movie she wanted to watch. Gave her all the suggestions, and she just kept wanting to watch Casper. And I didn't think she'd be interested just because it's real people, and she
Yeah.
hasn't really wanted to watch like real people, human being, you know, like
Okay.
movies and shows. She still watches cartoons for them. Not for the most part. She only watches cartoons and stuff unless Jesse's got something on that she's watching during the day. And she watched the whole thing.
Hmm.
Every once in a while, she would ask, like, "Where's Casper?" And you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's coming." Like, "Oh,
Right.
isn't this crazy?" And blah blah blah. But she ended up watching the whole movie back to back, or not back to back, front to back, without complaining. So
That's
that
good.
was nice. She
Yeah.
really liked it. She had a great time. And oh, so I watched in like 2 days. I don't think I talked about this last week. I watched The Haunting of Hill House before, and then this last week I watched The Haunting of Bly Manor, which is the new season of kind of the Haunting series, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. The Haunting series that I totally will never watch. Yeah.
Of course you won't.
No.
However, if you're a human being who isn't a wimp, it's a great series.
Fair enough. Fair
Now,
enough.
many of the super fans, I'm sure, are super friends. super fans? Well, I don't know. Why not? Um,
Bears.
many of the super friends have probably seen it. At least The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor is new. I will offer my opinion, and I will say The Haunting of Bly Manor is not very good.
Oh.
I did not like it. That's a hot take from Matt Shaw this week. I'll have a couple hot takes for y'all as the
Yeah.
podcast goes on, but that's a hot take. Not a huge fan of it. I was
So
pretty disappointed.
was it just like the sequel let down, or was it just
No, because it's not a sequel. I mean,
okay?
it is, but it's not. So it's an anthology series. They used a lot of the same actors and actresses, just a completely different story in a
Mm,
completely different place. So it has nothing to do with what we saw before. And they took it a step further and they almost made it so it wasn't the same kind of show. Was not
okay.
it was not scary. I told Jesse, you can watch this. Our mother-in-law could watch this, Spencer. Like it's not scary
Mm,
to me. There's a couple of scenes where you might go, woo, but yeah, but I Am Legend does that too. And I Am Legend is not a scary movie.
I don't think it's a scary movie either, but we got our mother-in-law to watch that with us.
Yeah. Hmm.
Gosh, when was that? Back over the 4th of July, maybe? Sometime? I don't exactly remember, but let me tell you, with her sitting next to you, it was a lot more jump scary than I remember.
Yeah.
Only because every little thing it was hands in front of
Yeah.
the eyes and pulling the
Yep.
blankets up,
Yep.
and
Yep.
she had
Yep.
pulled the blanket up and was googling a Wikipedia to pull up the plot to know what was coming up next.
Well, there you go.
So yeah,
So don't do that.
no, don't do that.
But I was kind of I was a little bit disappointed because The Haunting of Hill House for me is like it's an all-time story. Not just like scary, it's just an all-time like great story that was
Okay.
told. And told in such a cool way. And this was so disappointing to me. And I know that everyone in my family loved it and I didn't, and I'm the only one. So
Mm,
oh well. Get what you get. I ain't gonna apologize.
yeah.
Now we also did something really cool today. We got out and voted.
Yeah, very
So
nice.
I was driving this morning to run some errands for work to jump over to the P.O. box and pick up some stuff. And I drove past the library and I knew that they were doing early voting at the library. And I was like, gosh, I bet you it's packed. And then I'm like, election day is going to be so busy. And
Yeah.
both my wife and I definitely need to vote. And we've got these kids and it's COVID. And I don't know if I want to bring them because I don't want other people to be uncomfortable. And long story short, I ended up just stopping at the library to see what the line was like. And it was like nothing. So
Ooh.
I drove home real quick, grabbed Jesse, and we went down there and we probably voted in all of 7 minutes from waiting to punching our ballot done. Um, so that was awesome. So now we got the little I voted sticker and walked out and did our civil duty, which was great. So that was something that we really wanted to do, but we're a little bit stressed out about the timing of it all. And I didn't here in Texas, they don't have um, mail-in ballots
Okay.
unless you're absentee. You have to vote in person if you're able. And so I wasn't sure what, my options were, and they don't do a great job in explaining, I feel like, in
Mm,
explaining to voters where they're able to go. And I had to seek out the information and
yeah.
um anyway, but I was able to find out where to go, and we were able to vote today, and that was awesome. So that was the majority of the big things I can think of kind of that happened this week. Little things here and there, and went to the mall and messed around and just little random fun things with the family. And
When you go to the mall, do you sing "Let's Go to the Mall" by Robin Sparkles?
it's the only song to sing.
Yes, that's the
There
correct
is
answer.
no there's no other song.
That is the correct
um,
answer always.
gosh. Oh man, wait. Okay, get this. I turned on my PS4
Okay.
and I always have it suspended.
Yeah.
Always. It's always on standby. Always. I never quit my application. I just want to be able to jump right in. I've been
Yeah.
playing Ghost of Tsushima just every once in a while, 20 minutes here, even 10 minutes if I can get it in, complete a little mission. I get an error at the bottom that says PS4 corrupted database. And I'm
Ooh.
like, okay. I hit okay and it let me play. I just kept playing. I was like, I don't know what that was. Then I booted it up the next day, wouldn't let me start the application, rebooted the PS4, wouldn't let me get past the screen, like no screens.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I, I I'm so upset right now. And I was
Yeah.
freaking out because a corrupted database does not sound good. And I'm reading online, they're like, you're
Sure.
gonna have to open it up and reformat your mother hard board drive shift. Like, what the
Mother
heck?
hardboard drive shift.
So I was like, oh crap, this is not good. Long story short, I had to boot it up in safe mode, select
Yeah.
like a restore situation, and then it ran all these diagnostics and booted up and ended up working just fine. So hallelujah. And all my save data was there. All my games were still there. I just had to log into my PSN account again. And it was,
Whew,
that
and that
was,
mother drive shift hardboard was intact, huh?
guess so, man. Crazy though. I was like, oh, I was going to trade this in and get my PS5 for like at least get a couple $100 off.
Nice.
Free. But anyway, that was it.
Nice.
That was it.
So we did a few things here, or had maybe some similar things, I guess, in our
Okay.
kind of like my week that you did. So Rita and I both voted on
Nice.
Sunday. So Utah does mail out like absentee ballots, and they've done that forever.
Right.
And this year, because of COVID, they just mailed everyone a ballot. If you're a registered voter, they mailed you a ballot.
That's nice, man.
And honestly, like Utah's been doing like mail-in balloting for like forever. So for like the last 10 years at least. So we filled out our ballots, and then we drove this weekend over to a drop-off box
Okay.
for ballot collection, because we
Right.
figured, I don't have any problem with the mail. I know the post office and the postal service is going to work. But there's a drop box just like right over there, and it's just going to be picked right up by the state. They don't have to worry. Like, I can cut out the middleman. Like, I just don't have to use the post office. So we did that.
Yeah.
We also got a cold streak here, Matt. So interesting.
That's different cold.
A few weeks ago, we were still in the 80s, like 80,
Okay.
82 for like a high. And I was like, man, we're still getting like early summer temps here, and we were into like late September. Then October rolls around. The first little part of October is like still getting pretty hot, still in the low 80s, and then we saw a drop, and it went from the low 80s to the low 60s. And I was like, okay, fall weather. Good. On Saturday, the temperature went from 62 down to 34. It dropped almost 30 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh my gosh.
It got so cold. It's like today the high was like 36 maybe. We're going to be in the high 30s for the next like 2 days, and then over the weekend it'll get back up into the low 60s again.
No.
So it'll get back to the fall weather. But what was crazy is that I think I remember telling you about how the boys are getting better at the bike riding. They wanted to go riding, and it was 34 degrees out, and I was like, no, boys, it's too cold. No, Daddy, we want to go, please take us, just like all the whining. I was like, fine. So we put the bikes in the back of the truck, drove over to a church parking lot. I let them go with coats and hats, no gloves, which was intentional.
Yes, it was, smart man.
And so Brita and I are like in the truck staying warm. And then they're like, Dad, you got to come out here with us, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, fine. So I've got gloves and a hat and a coat on. And they're riding around. And Charlie like rides around like 1 or 2 laps. And he's like, Dad, I got to get back in the truck. I'm too cold. I'm like, okay. So he hops in the truck. Jackson just refused. He just kept riding and riding. And like 10 minutes had gone by, and Charlie had come in and out of the truck a few times to warm up and then go again. And then finally, Jackson's just like, Dad, I'm too cold. Like, Charlie got so cold, like, he just, like, ditched his bike in the middle and just, like, ran into the truck. I was like, Charlie, bring me your bike. He's like, I'm too cold. And, like, stopped talking and just was, like, half shivering and ran in. I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Grabbed his bike, and I was like, Jackson, it's time. He's like, Daddy, I can go 2 more laps. And I was like, fine. 2 more laps. And he's like, okay, Daddy, I'm just too cold. I'm too cold. But it was one of those moments where like I'm grateful that they want to continue riding and that they're improving every time they get out. But it was like, where were you kids all freaking summer long
Right.
when it was like
Right.
95 degrees out, and now that it's 34 degrees out, now you want to get out here? Ugh. But it is what it is, right? Let's
So
see here. I watched the second Borat movie this week.
oh,
It released on Amazon Prime streaming. I watched the first one in like 2006 and I loved it back then because it's this like very irreverent humor, but
yeah.
it's very much like a Sacha Baron Cohen likes to hold up a mirror to society and be like, "Oh, you think there's not a racism problem? You think there's not, societal issues that we should be discussed, that we're fine with that?" He's like, let's let's put some people in some interesting situations and ask them some questions and get people to talk, and people will talk.
Yeah.
And once again, it's been what, 14 years since the last movie he did. He did it again, and gosh darn it, like there was stuff that obviously was a little too rough that I was like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend this to, people who can't take, people who aren't like really,
To me.
yeah, like it might be a little rough in parts. But then there was other parts that was just like, man, like the the way that he's reflecting some issues in society right
Yeah.
now is
Yeah.
so perfectly timed. Um,
Mm.
so I got a big kick out of that. I watched that this week. Um, oh, okay. So at work I've been talking about the fact I've been swamped for like, I don't know, forever now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
feels like I'm hiring a guy. I got a guy that's gonna start on
Oh,
Monday
good.
of this next week. Um, yeah, I'm really happy with this guy. Like he came in and just nailed the interviews. Has
That's awesome.
got experience. Like I'm really excited. Plus, we're kind of in this whole thing now too, where like we've talked, and like if you don't need to be at work, we don't want you at work. And so like now I've got to come in and train someone to work in my department and work for me. So like I'm gonna have to schedule a few days next week to actually be in the office to do some on-site training, to show him around to some of our other job
Okay.
sites and kind of do that. And then it's going to be back to like working remotely and having him
Yeah.
only coming in a few days a week. And so I'm going to have to figure all of that out. Um, let's see what else. Last week was weird. Can I just say last week was weird for me? So we streamed the podcast on Tuesday night, which is not our normal night.
No, it's not. That threw me off all week.
It threw me off all week too because I kept thinking, it was Monday, but it was actually Tuesday, and so like
Mm-hmm.
my days were off, and then you had technical problems, and just like it kind of felt like it like snowballed throughout the week. So like I didn't end up streaming at all last week. The podcast was the only thing that we streamed. I just like I got to the point where it was like I worked late, and by the time I got done with work, I was too tired and it was too late for me to really feel like I wanted like to kind of get the energy going again to do something. Or the kids wouldn't go down and it was a problem.
Yeah.
Or like I had technical issues and I had to like, run a whole bunch of updates. It's just like it seemed to be like one thing after another. So I kind of took last week off from streaming unintentionally, but at the same time, like it kind of was nice, like just to, I'm feeling a little stress, a little pressure, just to kind of like lay on the couch, play some Animal Crossing, and just relax and not feel like, I got to be like on and
Yeah.
do the thing and, whatever. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
the last thing, and this is just because I thought of it when we were doing the pre-game talk, was I said, remind me two
Oh,
things.
yes.
And those two things are San Antonio and houses. Because I don't know why, but like Brida's on this kick where she really wants to look into going to Hawaii again. because Hawaii's kind of opening back up.
I heard.
And so yes, so like if you have
we're getting roped into this too. Not roped. Roped is a bad word. Like we don't want to go. But yes, we've heard of this. I've heard of this.
Yes, Breeda and I were kind of talking about it. I was like, yeah, we could go again because right now they're running some pretty killer deals on flights,
Right.
like through I think March to Hawaii. I was like, okay, and we could fly there if we have a negative COVID test 48 hours before. There's no quarantining. We could rent an Airbnb and we could just live on the beach for a week and just like have a super chill like vacation because we really don't think we're gonna get a lot of vacations planned through the end of this year and into like the first half of next year or maybe even longer, right? We just don't know.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to take a cruise in February and that's not gonna happen. So she's like, maybe we go to Hawaii. And so we started looking and she's like, look, here's prices and and flights. And at one point she says, you know, it'd be fun to go with someone to Hawaii. And I said, you know what? We should talk to Matt and Jesse because Emmy would be able to like run around with our boys on the beach and play. And Lando's walking around now, so he could just kind of like run all over the place and get him in the water.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's a swimmer yet or if you guys have done much of pool work with him yet. But I'm like, we could just hang out and chill. And so as we were talking about that, I was like, yeah, oh yeah, Breeda's got this bug. She's going to start talking to Jesse about it. She said, we just need to move somewhere warm. And I went, I wonder what houses look like in San Antonio. Just, you know, just because sometimes my mind just squirrel and I'm looking. So I'm pulling up realtor.com and I'm like, da-da-da-da-da. Like, can I tell you something? There's some affordable houses that are considerably larger than our house on considerably more land with San Antonio addresses.
Yeah, I know.
And I was just like, oh. And then Breeda's like, do you think you could move with your job? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, more and more, I'm thinking, you know, most of my work I can do remotely.
Right.
But anyway, it was this thing where like for maybe like 2 hours, I was just searching houses in San Antonio, Texas. And that's when I think I even messaged Breeda, or I told Breeda to ask Jesse, I'm like, what actual area are you guys in, and got your address. I was like, oh, I'm like, this can't be more than like 10 minutes down the road from you guys. And I'm like, look at this one. It's right on a golf course. It just, I went down a rabbit hole. What can I say?
It's fun. House rabbit holes are fun to go down. There's no doubt about it. And look, people like when we moved to San Antonio, so super friends, Jesse and I moved here very shortly after we got married. We wanted to get out of where we were and we wanted to get out now. And we could have moved anywhere because I was working for myself, and we chose San Antonio, Texas. And we got a lot of strange conversations, looks, thoughts, I'm sure, from people that didn't even voice their opinion, but there were many who did voice their opinion. Why are you doing this? There's no family. All of our family lives in the mountain, kind of Rocky Mountain region.
Yeah.
Everyone. I have no family in Texas. I have no family east of Texas. I have no family. I mean, it just is. I'm like, look, if you guys would just, and now that they've come and they visited, they're like, okay, at least on my in-law side, because my family gets it, because we grew up here in reality.
Yeah.
But as people have come, they're like, oh, okay, there's a lot to like about Texas. Oh, and San Antonio in particular, like you don't get the hurricanes? Like, no.
Right.
You don't get like all the humidity? No. Oh, you have like SeaWorld and Six Flags and like resort stuff? Like, yeah. You have like 50 golf courses? Yeah. Like, okay. So it just takes a little bit. And like, oh, wait, you can afford a house for this much money? Yeah. Texas is amazing.
Or at least that part of Texas, right? Yeah.
Yeah, don't go to Dallas. Dallas sucks. Dallas is the worst place on the planet, and I hope it drops into the center of the earth and burns.
Oh, wow. We have super friends that live in Dallas. We
have
super friends that live in Dallas. Would you like to revise that statement?
No, I have nothing else to say.
Oh, that's too funny. I'm not even gonna lie one bit. I was one of the people that when you guys decided, like right after you got married, we're gonna move to San Antonio. I went, is there family down there? I'm like, they can work from anywhere, so why San Antonio? And they're like, Matt grew up there, and that's where they want to go. I went, okay, I guess. So like,
Well, I grew up in Houston.
right, yeah. So I mean,
but to Texas, I wanted to get back to Texas.
yeah,
Anyway, continue.
yeah. So I was one of those ones that went like, all right, well if that's what
Yeah.
they want to do, like you're not gonna be close to family or whatever. And I'm like, but that's your choice, I guess. Do it, do what you want to do. But it's my kind of personality, which is a lot like yours, is kind of like, well, doesn't really affect me, so live your life and
Mhm.
enjoy. So Brita and I, though, we have been talking pretty heavily that we need to come down and visit you guys, because we've been to California once, and we've seen Eric and Karen's place and visited them shortly over like a long weekend.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we should go to Texas and hang out. And I got to get over to Buc-ee's anyway,
Gotta
so
get to Buc-ee's, man. You kidding me?
that and I want to go to Franklin's in Austin for the
Yep.
barbecue. So
Yep.
anyway, like I don't know, we've been talking like forever. The week was crazy. I feel
Yeah.
like this next week is going to be crazy. But good, like in a good way, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like,
Next 2 weeks are just like I don't.
yeah,
The whole world is going to change in the next 2 weeks, and
maybe. Who knows?
what
I don't
happened?
know. Anyway, Matt, I think it's time that we get to the thing that we do every week. I think it's time for some Bothans to die. What do you think?
I'm in.
All right, let's do it.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Matt, we are into Rebel Intelligence. What do you have for me this week?
So let's talk about the best, hottest franchise that I've never seen a minute of: the Fast and the Furious.
Okay.
So look, I have so many friends who love the Fast and the Furious. So many. And they keep telling me to watch it. And I'm like, they've made like 8 movies. So I figure it's probably got some merit to it. And
Sure.
however, when you get to a point where there's like 8, the barrier to entry seems really high. And like there's a lot of commitment there. And like it's not streaming. So anyway, that's just why I haven't gotten into it. Basically making excuses before I say that they are going to officially conclude the main series, the story of Dom, with 2 movies after this 9th one that's coming out. They're doing a 10 and an 11 as a
Ooh.
2-part finale that'll close out that story. However, they are open to spinoffs, of course, like Hobbs and Shaw. I know that was a
Right.
spinoff. I'm sure they'll do other maybe TV series. I don't know. However, we do know that they're going to conclude with a 2-part movie finale, a la Deathly
Extravaganza.
Hallows. Yeah,
Yeah.
so unsure as to dates and everything like that. Still kind of being worked out. They haven't even put out Fast 9 yet, which reportedly goes to space. So they have to do better than space in 10 and 11. Good luck.
Wow.
We'll see. So, and we'll see who returns. You would assume that the main core cast, even I haven't even seen the movies and I know who the cast is, and you would assume that like Dwayne the Rock Johnson would come back as well. And so I think we're going to see a lot of people reprising their roles and coming back for the finale. So look forward to that, Super Friends, who are just too fast and too furious for anyone to care.
Well, that's Peter Christensen's wheelhouse. He loves those movies.
Oh, great! I'm gonna hear about it next week in email.
Probably, yeah, probably just a little bit.
Cheers, Peter. Cheers.
I will say, like, I don't know. I stopped around the 5th movie somewhere. I think I own the 6th one, but have never watched it. If you've never watched any of them, go back and watch the first one that kind of kicked all of this off.
Yeah.
It's a fun Southern California racing movie. It's a street racing movie. It really is. Yeah. I will say I did enjoy that one. All right. I got something for you. It's a movie. It's something I'm
Mhm.
super excited about. It has nothing to do with the Fast and the Furious.
Oh.
So, this last week, Nolan North, the famed voice actor who does, like, I don't know, voices in basically everything,
Okay.
he did the voice of Nathan Drake for the Uncharted games. We know there's an Uncharted movie coming up with Tom Holland in it.
Mhm.
And over the weekend, like maybe like 4 days ago now, Nolan North shared on his Twitter a picture with him on set talking with Tom Holland. He showed some pictures of some of the artifacts that were there, some of the like little pieces of the set. Basically, this is the first of anything we have seen
Yeah.
from the Uncharted movie, which is super okay. To me, it's super cool that they brought in Nolan North because Nolan North does a lot of voices, but Nathan Drake, that voice that he does for that is pretty much just his normal voice.
Okay.
Maybe slightly changed just a hair, but really not. So
Okay.
when I hear just Nolan North in interviews, if I close my eyes, I hear Nathan Drake. Like
Nice. Okay.
I can picture Nathan Drake. So
Yeah.
he showed all this stuff, and of course, none of it really gave away too much information about maybe what the plot of the movie's going to be, or what what it I don't know what it could be, right?
Yeah.
But it was amazing. And we know that the Uncharted movie's supposed to be, and I'm going to say air quotes here, supposed to be released July 16th of 2021, because who knows with COVID. Now, after Nolan North drops these amazing photos, our boy Tom Holland, old Tommy, he
Tommy.
dropped he dropped a photo of himself in character and in costume as Nathan Drake. He's got an untucked Henley, he's got some khakis, he's got some boots on, he's got the watch, he's got the little ring on the little necklace, he's got the little shoulder gun holsters, and he's standing next to what looks like, if I'm gonna take a guess, like a kind of blown up, ruined like pirate ship maybe, or part of a pirate ship. And of course, I see this and I immediately go nuts because he looks like a young Nathan Drake there. And
Yeah.
the costume is perfect Nathan Drake. The setting that it's framed against as the background is perfect Uncharted. Like it gave me one of those moments where I went, "Ooh, I know this is a video game movie and I don't want to get my hopes up, but boy does this look good, and boy are my hopes starting to rise a little bit that we could get something at least decent out of this."
That's
Oh,
awesome.
so
That's
cool.
awesome. I did see that earlier this week, and I love Tom Holland, so
Yeah,
there's that.
Tom is great.
Tom is so great. Let's just anyway. Um, my next bit of info is for all my Rocky fans out there. What
Yeah.
Rocky Balboa? Let's get it. Well, it's tied to Rocky. Creed 3.
Yeah.
If you have not seen the Creed series, I highly recommend watching it. They are excellent movies, very, very well done. And we are getting a third Creed. And reportedly, Michael B. Jordan, who stars in Creed,
Mm-hmm.
will be reportedly directing Creed as well. It
Ooh.
will be his directorial debut if it comes to pass, which it will. I
Sure.
mean, you don't report these things and then he's like, I'm going to pass on this project. I
Right.
just want to act. I don't want to be like amazing at everything. And Michael B is amazing at everything.
Yeah.
And so this is really cool for him, really exciting, and certainly even more confirmation that we are getting a third Creed movie, that his story is going to continue, which I certainly wanted as a fan of the Rocky series, and then as a fan of Michael B. and the fact that he plays Creed's son. I mean, I love it. I love all of those storylines. So this is going to be awesome. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for Michael B. Jordan to get a chance to direct the film and see what he can do.
I've only seen the first one. The second one I think is on Amazon Prime right
Yeah,
now. And
I
so
think
like
so.
it's on my list of like things I want to get back around to and want to watch.
Yeah.
So it'll. I almost watched that this weekend. I really did.
It's great. It's great. Of course, it's great. It's more of Rocky, like all the Rockies. You're watching Rocky. How can
Yeah.
you be mad? Even the ones that aren't as good, that aren't like Rocky and Rocky 2. It's like, you know what? It's Rocky, and I'm in.
Looking at you, Rocky
So good.
5.
Yeah, man, please. I'll take all the Rockies over literally any other fighting or boxing movie that's ever been made. And I know people love that one about Warrior or something like that. Not a fan. The UFC. Anyway,
Oh
long
yeah,
story short,
yeah.
Rocky's OG and Creed is new OG, and he's sick, and I can't wait for
Nice.
For Creed 3.
Nice. All right, Matt, this is the part in the podcast where I throw shade.
Oh boy.
And I'm just putting this out here now because, oh gosh, 2020 has been such a weird year. And I got to say, like, there's certain memes that I've seen that have been like, the problem is that we figured out that chanting Baby Shark actually opened up a portal into Hades, and that's why we're doing this. Some people are saying, like, do you remember when people were complaining about 2019, saying that 2019 had been a rough year and that 2020 has to be better?
Every year they say that.
Right.
Now.
Yeah. So 2020's been rough. I think that's fair to say. 2020's been rough.
Yeah, 2020's been really rough,
for almost anyone. Now, in our world, things get weirder with this news coming up in 2020. The Justice League. I've talked about this. I've recently said that I'm a little more optimistic for it, that I'll watch it and I'll give it a second chance.
Sure.
Just as I'm starting to try to turn a corner on this mess that is the Snyder Cut of the Justice League, that has been ongoing for, I don't know, time in memoriam. Like, I just...
Yep.
They just announced this last week. Of all things, Jared Leto is going to be reprising his version of the Joker to be a part of the Justice League movie. Matt, have you seen the Justice League?
Yeah.
Do you remember where the Joker was already in this movie?
No.
No, you don't, because it didn't happen. So, if you remember at the end of Batman v Superman, we get a little cryptic note about the Joker. In David Ayer's Suicide Squad, we get a little tiny cameo of Ben Affleck's Batman.
Yes. Right.
The Joker had nothing to do with the Justice League, was not in it at all.
Yep.
And now freaking Zack Snyder's saying that he's going to go back and he's going to film, like we've already talked about this, he's going to film some extra stuff and he's bringing back some of the characters, but he's bringing back Jared Leto's Joker. Jared Leto's Joker was universally crapped upon, very much not a favorite of most of the fans, so much that when DC had a chance to do a spin-off Joker movie, instead of doing something that was Jared Leto-centric, they went with the completely unrelated Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. Jared Leto's Joker didn't have any sort of role in the Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie, but they're bringing him back, and I hate this decision. And I think just when I feel like I'm like, all right, let me get past all this craziness, let me just get on board just for 4 hours to watch this thing, they drop news like this. I just hate this, Matt. I think this is like, I think they're making some bad choices at Warner Brothers and bringing in someone who is a very divisive casting, and the role he played and the way it was done was very divisive on the fandom, into something that is already not going to be probably universally loved to begin with. What is Warner Brothers doing?
This is a situation where doubling down on a decision that you've made it's really a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's not like you talk to fans that are like, yeah, it's not like 50-50. You know what I
No.
mean? It's like 50% like it,
No.
50% hate it. This isn't like The Last Jedi. This is like we all hate this.
Yes.
This is like you and me on The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
This was hot garbage.
Yep.
And this Joker is hot garbage. I hate the way he looks. I hate the way he acts. I hate who is played by. It doesn't work. It doesn't fly at all. Makes no sense. So the fact they're bringing him back, I'm stoked. This is so dumb. So dumb.
I saw that and I just went, like, just
let it die.
Why?
Just
yes.
Almost erase him into non-existence.
Move on.
I agree.
I mean, gosh. I mean,
what a mess.
It's hard to say, but Heath Ledger's Joker in the Nolan films,
yes,
he was amazing, and I get that tragically we lost him, and that's why The Dark Knight Rises was nowhere near as good because they had to shuffle things at the last minute and try to figure out what to do, and I get that, and I get that he's going to be the stick that people measure the Joker portrayal by for quite a long time. Yeah. But I mean, come on, like Jared Leto, he's a very talented actor. He really truly is. But this wasn't a good role for him, and and I don't want to see him reprise it. And I don't know people that do. I don't know. Super Friends, if you want to see this, by all means, holler at me, get a hold of me, and let me know that I'm wrong and that you want to see this. But I don't know that we're going to hear that many Super Friends, Matt.
I don't think so.
Anyway,
let's talk good casting.
Okay, please.
Let's talk exciting casting.
What do you got for me?
So Marvel slated out a bunch of Disney Plus shows that they wanted to make.
Right.
And that was, it feels like an eternity ago. It was probably a year and a half ago or something. I don't exactly remember. One of those shows was Moon Knight. And this is something I'd never heard of. Again, I'm not a comic book guy, so why would I have ever heard of Moon Knight? Now that I've kind of learned a little bit about Moon Knight and I've just seen like what he looks like, and he looks like a bad A, and I'm excited about it. They cast, supposedly, allegedly, Variety is reporting that they have cast our boy Oscar Isaac, also known as Poe Dameron from the sequel trilogy for Star Wars, as Moon Knight. This to me makes me so happy and so excited because Oscar Isaac is such a talented actor in everything.
Yeah.
But particularly in that sequel trilogy, he's somebody that so many people attached to, myself included, because he's so awesome and sidelined a little bit here and there. And I wish he had a little bit more to do, and we could complain and quibble about that. However,
and we have, and we will continue to.
And we will, and this is not just a Rise of Skywalker. This is a Last Jedi thing too. But I am so excited and so happy with this casting. It's somebody that people are familiar with, that we all know we love, who's kind of a bad A already in what we know him from. This is a cool kind of natural fit. I'm excited about it. I don't know. What do you think?
I
don't know much about Moon Knight. Admittedly, remember, I don't know a lot about Moon Knight or his characteristics. I've heard he's kind of like a Batman-y for Marvel.
Yeah.
Which I totally see this fitting for Oscar Isaac, but I don't know.
I like this idea. I like Oscar Isaac. I think he's a great actor. Yeah. I was sad that he was not more prominent in the Star Wars films because he was amazing. So I like this. I want to see him more in the Marvel world. I'm totally down with that.
Yes.
Like I don't have any problem with that. So bring it on. Like let's do this.
Yeah.
Like let's get it.
I'm excited for it.
All right, Matt. Here's the last thing I have for you. So I remember a little while ago, somehow I can't remember. We talked about Battlestar Galactica, and I brought it up. Maybe I brought it up as like one of the things that I loved, remakes or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So Battlestar Galactica for a while has had a movie that has been in development, out of development, in, out. was
Sure.
reporting that Simon Kinberg, who you would recognize as the person that has, he did like the X-Men First Class and
Okay.
Days of Future Past. Like he really kind of took the torch over on the X-Men movies, really from like the First Class on, which there's some really good ones in there, and there's some rougher ones, but that included some of the Wolverine and Old Man or Logan. I was about to say Old Man Logan, but Logan, and he had been a writer on some of the early ones. Apparently, Hollywood Reporter is now saying that Simon Kinberg has been tapped to produce and rewrite the movie adaptation for Battlestar Galactica.
Oh.
And so this is exciting to me because I think he's a decent writer. I really enjoyed his work on the X-Men films. I also know the potential of the sci-fi, the sci-fi juggernaut that is Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
The only concern I have is that I think that works really well as a series. I don't know how it's going to do as a movie. Like, if you go back to the reboot that was like 2005, they started with a movie that kind of acted as the pilot for the show. And it was a 2-hour movie and it was great. But you knew that it was only like the first part of a story.
Yeah.
Like you knew it was a pilot.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you tell a story about the last humans on the run from these androids that are trying to kill them and wipe humanity out of the galaxy? How do you do that in a 2-hour movie? That's my concern.
We're gonna find out.
Maybe.
That's the challenge.
Now,
No, I don't know.
If I heard that, like, hey, they're gonna take this and they're gonna do, like, I don't know, a series of like 8 to 10 like 1 hour like movie, quote unquote, basically like higher production like television shows, kind of like some of the Netflix stuff did with the Marvel stuff, I would be okay with that. But as far as like a 2-hour movie goes, I don't know how this is going to work. I just think it's too much story, not enough time for character development. But I'm going to tell you what, I'll go see it.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I'll see it.
Yeah. It's exciting. I don't know anything about Battlestar Galactica, so I'll watch it.
I know. I gotta get you to watch the reboot. At least watch the pilot. I think if you watch the pilot, you would.
I'm sure
you'd be interested enough to continue on and see if it's something you like or not.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have anything else for me, Matt? Because I'm out.
I'm out, but I do have a story I forgot to tell about my week.
Ooh.
Just to close out Rebel Intelligence. This just in. I went to the dentist this last week.
Okay.
And this is just a funny story that I thought I would tell mid-podcast. Funny to me, it's really not that funny. I don't know why I'm telling it now. I feel stupid. Went to the dentist, okay? And sat in the chair, and he's like, you can watch whatever you want on Netflix. I was like, oh, great. Like, I'm in a weird mood because I'm at the dentist and I hate being here. And my tooth kind of feels weird. So I'm worried I got a cavity. But I put on Community, and I'm like, okay, let's just throw on Community. This is going to make me feel good. And then, we do all the things. The doctor comes in. They lean me back. And in the ceiling, they've got a TV.
Oh, okay.
And so I've got my teeth wide open. Community's on. It's the ACB episode. The Butt Crack Bandit.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing. And I say, with my mouth open, I'm like, you have to turn it off. Because I'm going to laugh.
Yeah.
And I can't hear it. I can't watch it. So they instead put like my teeth x-rays up there. And I was like, okay, this is a much smarter thing to do. And they laughed about that. And I was like, look, legit, I can't help myself. So you have to turn this. When Ben Folds comes on and he's singing that song that he wrote for it.
I was so like, okay, good.
Stop.
So good.
Turn it off. I'm gonna bite your hand off. Long story short, no cavities, #brush and floss.
Oh, look at you.
That's it.
With a little, like, that's like 1980s, like old school, like a little PSA right at the end. G.I. Joe, like, knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe, yeah.
That's right, man.
I love it.
That's how we do here. That was a worthless story. I hope it contributed to the podcast in some way for someone. That's all I've got, though. No more news.
That is so funny, Matt. That is so funny. All right, gosh, how to segue from your dental
Social
community?
media, let's hit it.
No, so last week we asked the Super Friends a question. We said, basically, like, what is your plans for trick or treating this year? What is your plans for Halloween? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And and we got some answers, and so we'll read those. Let's start over where we always do, which is the email, fortofnerd@gmail.com.
Yes.
We got Peter Christensen. He says, "Dear nerds, I have no comment on Star Wars custom lightsabers, but Ezra Bridger sounds like a Mormon pioneer." I mean,
Okay. Sure, it kind of does.
it kind of does.
Not wrong.
Also, Peter, you need to watch Star Wars Rebels, because if that's the first time you're hearing of that, or you've never heard that, like that's one you got to watch. It's good. It says, "Okay, I didn't actually know about Willow. You guys are my source of Rebel intelligence. I hope Val Kilmer gets Hugh Jackman's trainer, because he hasn't been looking much like a warrior lately."
Dude, Val Kilmer looks
Yikes.
awful.
Yeah.
Dude looks terrible.
Val
He needs to get Christian Bale's guy when Christian Bale went so scary skinny for that one movie. That's what he needs to do, because then he'll be at a normal weight if they give him that. Poor Val Kilmer. Time has not been kind to you.
Mad Mardigan. Ugh.
I know, right?
Peter goes on, says, "I've been watching NES speed runs recently, and there's a big difference between knowing how to do the record versus being able to perform it. Matt, I think your $100 bet is safe. Remember, Super Friends, if you can beat Breath of the Wild in under an hour, like the speedrunners do, Matt will pay you $100. He has said this.
Up into 1,000. I'm so confident. It's impossibly difficult.
Wow.
And you have to be like subscribed somewhere on the podcast, and it has to be predated to your speed running.
Okay, am I eligible for this?
Yeah, of course you are. I'm really confident. $1 million for you. No.
Now you know.
I don't have it. I don't have $1 million to give you.
Now you know I'm going to. Just like, Matt, you owe me $1 million, and I'm going to take this out installment payments if I have to.
No.
I'll let you do a direct deposit, $20 every month for the rest of your life until you hit that 1 million.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
All right, we'll get back to Peter Christensen, but I love that I got $1 million coming my way. Okay, he says, "This week I watched Luke Cage Season 1. My memory about the second half villain being a letdown was correct, but I understood better why. He had a good motivation for fighting Luke, but it didn't have any connection to how he became a villain. This is a huge letdown after Cottonmouth and Mariah, who could trace their good and evil acts to their childhood experiences. The female characters, Claire Temple, also from Daredevil, Detective Misty Knight, and Mariah Dillard are some of the deepest and best written characters in any drama I've seen, and the show is full of great music, both background and live. It says Method Man's scene in episode 12 is the best. Most of all, it's a complex look at police and black communities, the fear and dependence both sides have on each other, and the loyalty and division within each side. It still feels very relevant 4 years later because these are decades-old problems. Next up is Iron Fist Season 1. I never watched it, but I like Danny and the Colleen and the Defenders. Ooh. I'm just going to say, ooh. This one's going to be a rough one, Peter, so good luck. He says, theaters opened up in Seattle with reasonable COVID restrictions. We didn't know how long they'll be open, so we masked up and watched Tenet. Ooh, doggy, what a ride. It felt like the pinnacle of Christopher Nolan. Time manipulation, complex premise, redonkulous action sequences, muffled dialogue through masks, exotic travel, mind-blowing reveals, and Michael Caine. If you get a chance to see it in the theater, I highly recommend doing so, but the next time I see it, I want subtitles and a pause button. It's calling out for a movie club / therapy session when it's available for home viewing. Then he goes on to say, we're still not sure about trick-or-treating this year. Our neighborhood is one of the best in Seattle for Halloween. but our house is off of a side street, so no one ever comes to our house. I'm sure we'll do something. Halloween is too fun of a holiday. Cheers, Peter Christensen.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
I like it.
Amen.
Let's go over to Twitter. We have Patrick Novacell at Hollywood Bones. He says, business as usual. Clark's going to be Mario with a blow-up cart around his waist, and Claire's going to be a zombie cheerleader from the Disney Zombies movies. Matt, have you seen the Disney zombie movies?
I'm ashamed to say this. I have not seen those. I don't really know what they are.
Okay. So it is what it is then. We don't need to bash you over the head that you haven't seen those movies yet.
I would hope not.
All right. Ryan Kubacki at RMK Buried Alive says, well, I was supposed to get married.
Oh.
Now it'll be next Halloween. So this one, I'll be doing some cool horror makeup with my fiance and streaming instead. Turn it into a fun little party.
Nice.
I like that. I think that's a great alternative.
To getting married, I guess.
I mean,
that sucks.
I mean, it does suck that got, changed up for him, obviously. But,
you gotta make something good out of it.
That's right.
I like it.
That's right. You gotta make lemonade out of lemons, right?
Mm-hmm,
Life gives you peaches, you make peach cobbler.
You make peach lemonade, man.
Or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
Sure.
Bernabe Butters at Dantes_Belmont says, business as usual, scary movie marathon.
Nice.
No, sir, Mr. Butterteeth. I will not be joining you in a scary movie marathon.
No, boo.
You are on your own, good sir. All right, at DSpin67, at DSpin67, he says, plans are going to trunk or treat, weather permitting.
Okay, yeah,
popular. Trunk or treat is very, very popular. Very, very popular.
Makes sense.
Let's go over to Discord. We've got Tim Paulin. He says, normal Halloween for us. Hand out candy in Ziploc sandwich bags this year. And listen to the dog grrr every time the doorbell rings. As of this writing, it's snowing. So I expect a lot of jackets over costumes next weekend. Plus the outside temps mean the frozen Snickers are back in play. So if you remember last week when I talked about the whole put the candy, put a Snickers in the leaf blower, he messaged me back and says, what about frozen Snickers? And I was like, dude, you're straight up trying to kill people. And we laughed about that over social media. And frozen Snickers could be a thing this year for Super Friends. I'm going to retract this. If your Snickers are frozen, maybe don't use the t-shirt cannon or the leaf blower as a rapid delivery system. Don't hurt anyone.
Two children. I'll qualify it, and I'll say 2 children. So other people over the age of 16, I'm fine with leaf blower and t-shirt cannon shooting frozen foods at people who, in my opinion,
shouldn't be trick-or-treating.
Grow up. It's time to grow up.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Chief_Findog says, I'm getting married on Halloween, so that's something.
We got one guy getting married?
One guy, yeah, Chief Findog.
And one guy not getting married.
Yep, he says as far as the Halloween festivities themselves, he says the government here has told people not to go out trick-or-treating this year. And I will say that Chief Findog is in Scotland. So he's Scottish. So I will not try a horrible Scottish accent.
Please don't. It will offend.
Yeah, I'm
hardcore.
sure it will. Which means that
I doubt it. I think the Scottish have a pretty solid sense of humor.
Dude, seriously. But he says it's not government mandated that they can't, but they're highly encouraging people not to.
Yeah.
But he's getting married. How freaking cool is that?
Man, it reminds me That reminds me a little bit of something that April and Andy would have done from Parks and
Ooh,
Rec, like getting married on
yes.
Halloween and like April making it like really weird and Andy being like, let's
Right.
make it fun. And like that seems like what a Halloween wedding would be. Like people are like, this is weird, but when you go, you're like, okay, this is actually pretty sick.
Yeah.
Like this is fun and like cool. That's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Yes. Well done.
That's amazing.
Congrats. I had like a whole list of like Scottish phrases that I thought I would try to sneak in, but I was like, it's gonna sound like Austin Powers, Mike Myers. I was
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Chief Findog, congratulations. That's awesome.
Awesome.
From
That's so
us
cool.
here at the Fortress of Nerditude to you, congrats. That's amazing. Best of luck in all you do. Matt, going out on a high note, that's all the answers I want to read.
Man.
Chief Findog getting married. Let's end there. How can the Super Friends help us out this week? And I think we should include something about like the Super Friends should all like go drop in on his social and like share whole lot of love for him. Anyway, just saying as an option.
Share some love to everyone you meet. But listen, like, comment, subscribe, hit us up on Discord. We be chatting all week, y'all. We be chatting all week. I don't know if you're on it, but if you're not, you're missing out.
That's true.
Kind of. We are chatting though. We're having a grand old time out there. And YouTube, subscribe. Yo, I think we're gonna get some Mandalorian sidekicks coming up pretty quick here because tomorrow, as the podcast is released,
right?
Tomorrow is Mandalorian Day. Happy Mandalorian Day. That's better than Halloween. Maybe. I don't know. Depends.
For sure. Well,
that's to you.
I'd say for most people, yes. For Chief Findog who's getting married, probably not.
Oh, wow. That could be his bachelor party, though. Anyway, moving on.
Ooh, look at that.
So what you can do for us this week is, again, I think we've talked, I think I may have mentioned this, but maybe it's just on my mind because I did it today. Get out and vote if you're in the States.
Yep.
Make it a priority. Make a plan if you've got kids and trying to juggle all of that. Try and find out your closest location or maybe the least busy location might also be a better plan even. And just try and do some research so you're prepared so that you're not waiting in line for 8 hours. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants you to have to do that. So go planned and prepared, mail in if you can, register if it's not too late in your state, and get out there and vote. Whether we don't support either one, like you do you, we just want your voice to be heard. It's important. So thanks for what you do, y'all. Let's get into the discussion.
I'm super excited for this discussion. I'm also really excited.
So
I'm still thinking about that $1 million that I'm going to be able to earn from you.
Well, keep dreaming, buddy, because it's not happening. Not the $1 million, but beating Breath of the Wild in an hour.
When I do it, I'm going to do it on stream.
Okay.
You'll be eating your words. Okay. So Matt, would you like to introduce the movie? Because I know this is Halloween and like this is your wheelhouse. So I'd like to give you the opportunity.
Okay. So get pumped. But not that pumped because we're not reviewing something awesome because Spencer's a scaredy cat. We're not reviewing Halloween, Halloween 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger movies. We're not doing any of that fun stuff. We're doing something just as fun though, yo.
Yeah.
We are discussing, reviewing, talking about Hubie Halloween.
Hubie Halloween.
New Adam Sandler movie from Netflix. And I am really happy that you have decided that this is a great idea because I don't have anybody to talk to about this. Jesse does not fall into the spectrum of people attracted to Adam Sandler films.
Okay.
And so that's like, darn it, you know?
Yeah.
But
it's not enough to consider divorce, but it's enough that you kind of wish that, like, you know, maybe she had a different interest in movies.
The deal is I get it. If I'm going to be straight up, like, you kidding me? I watch Adam Sandler movies and I go, I get it. People don't like it. I get it. it's not like, oh my gosh, like how can you not like it? You know, it's not like it's, I don't know,
His humor's
something
not for
good.
everyone.
No, absolutely not. And
Yeah.
not all of his movies are hits. And that's what I'm interested in maybe at some point discussing, is kind of in what tier do we put this film in for
Ooh,
us
okay.
personally, as far as an Adam Sandler tier. Because look, even if it's a great Adam Sandler movie, it's not like a knock it out of the park type of film, right? It's an Adam Sandler movie, and there's a separate category, and that doesn't make it better or worse. It just makes it an Adam Sandler movie, at least in my opinion. So I'm really excited to talk about Hubie Halloween. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. I watched it twice. Now, I watched it when it came out. I was like counting down. I was telling Jesse just sarcastically because she didn't want to watch it. Now, here I am. I watched it today again, this morning / afternoon as I was working. And anyway, I don't want to give it all away on how I feel about it. So take it away.
Okay, so as the resident scaredy cat of the podcast,
Yeah.
I was a little nervous because I hadn't looked to see like what the rating was on this movie, which it is PG-13, by the way. I was afraid it was going to be like rated R, which to me was like, that means they're probably going to jack up the gore, the frightening kind of quotient of things. So
Sure.
I was really expecting it to be, oh gosh, how to even put this? I was expecting it to be more on the like serious side of Adam.
Oh, well, you did not watch the previews.
No, I didn't. I didn't
Okay.
watch. I didn't watch
Okay,
any of the
okay,
previews. So I was expecting this to be a more scary Halloween movie.
Okay.
And it starts off, and within maybe I'd say the first 5-10 minutes of the movie, I was like, nope, this is a comedy movie that is going to be couched and surrounded in the trappings of Halloween, but it's going to be an Adam Sandler movie.
Yep.
And if you like Adam, and I remember thinking about, this because my wife doesn't like Adam Sandler movies very much. She watched it with me, was it last night when we watched it? And she said like she tried watching it with her sister Reese, and they watched maybe the first 5-10 minutes and then they turned it off because it was like, this is not our humor. It's not kind of what we like. But Brita watched the whole thing with me because she knew I was going to watch it for the podcast. And when it was over, she's like, okay, that was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. She's not like, she likes the romantic comedy Adam Sandler movies. So like 50 First Dates,
yeah.
Blended, The Wedding Singer.
Yep.
Even ones like the movies like Bedtime Stories, like that's her wheelhouse. Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, The Waterboy, that is not her wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Gilmore, Waterboy, Billy Madison, like that's my wheelhouse. Like I grew up with those Adam Sandler movies. So getting into the movie a couple minutes, all of a sudden, like I start recognizing what I call the Friends of Sandler cast, which he continues to recast all his friends in the movies. So it's like, oh, yep, here's Colin Quinn. Oh, yep, here's his wife. Oh, yep, here's his real daughters in real life playing roles. And here, I can't remember the actor's name, but like here's the old kind of, crotchety guy that also was the PE teacher from Community, where they do the pool, when he's playing pool with Winger. Like, I was like, okay. And I started thinking, okay, I'm looking for Shaquille O'Neal's going to pop up at some point. Rob Schneider's going to pop up at some point. Like I started like making like the mental list in my head of like, here's all the friends of Sandler, here's the people I'm looking forward to seeing. At some point they will pop up, Kevin James. I mean, and he doesn't disappoint. If you like all those actors that he kind of casts now in these more bigger ensemble movies, he's gonna hit all those cylinders for you. And there was a few others like Ray Liotta. Like Ray Liotta, I don't know that necessarily he's been in any of his other movies, but he was in this one. he had George, is it George Wallace, the comedian, who played the mayor in this movie. He was in this. What's the Julie Bowen was kind of like the love interest in this. I mean, yeah, I mean Shaq, obviously.
It's a massive cast.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah,
all
yeah.
people that you know. Maybe you don't
Yep.
know their names, but you know, and you knew like Maya Rudolph was going to show up. She's
Yes.
in a lot of his movies. You knew Tim Meadows was going to show
Yep.
up. I don't know that he ever passes up on a Sandler opportunity
No.
or just a Happy Madison film. Doesn't even have to have Sandler in it.
Yep.
So I agree. For me, it was just like I again, and I think you're right. I think you hit it at the beginning. I think we both kind of mentioned this. It's an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah.
And if you enjoy the Sandler verse,
Yep.
This movie was good. Now there are some fun things I'm sure we'll talk about, and some things that people didn't like, or whatever we want to get into, and whatever we want to discuss. But there was one notable person missing for me that I was disappointed we didn't get.
Okay.
And that was David Spade. He was the one Sandler friend that I did not get to see. And I was like, oh, because I think David Spade is just an all-time comic.
Yep.
So funny. And was just like, oh, dang it, man. Now I'm going to have to go watch Grown Ups to scratch that itch.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
But
he's so good in that movie.
Anyway.
Yeah, no David Spade. There was no Chris Rock there.
Yeah, no Chris Rock too. That's right.
There was there was someone else I was thinking of. I'm like, oh, this person wasn't there
Even
either.
Ben Stiller was in it.
Yeah, well, and like
semi-reprising a role.
Right.
Well, reprising a role, not semi.
Yeah, reprising a role from Happy Gilmore.
The very first scene. He's in the very first scene. And you know from the very first scene what kind of movie this is gonna be. It's just it's so funny.
Even like, okay, there's this nun that's in the movie.
Yeah.
Like that nun was like the little old lady in Billy Madison, where they go to like the farm, and like the one kid pees his pants. He's like, hold on, and like he like splashes water, and he's like, look, only the coolest kids pee their pants. And then she's like, if peeing your pants is cool, then I'm Miles Davis. I was like, it's that lady. Like, there was all these like little bit actors and actresses from other movies, which actually for me, because yes, it's a funny movie, and yes, it's a comedy, and yes, it's Adam Sandler, and I love it. But to see all these like little bit actors from all these other Adam Sandler properties in and out of this, and like interspersed and kind of like sprinkled throughout, like it kind of made it just fun. Like I felt like this movie, and probably, if I'm being perfectly honest, a lot of his movies now, is just how can we have a good time, tell a funny story, make people laugh, and include all of my possible friends that we possibly can.
Absolutely. And if you're it's like, I feel like I'm part of that group, which makes it fun, which is what a good creator does. And that's kind of what Adam Sandler is now. He's more than just an actor. He's kind of just like he's a niche. He's a creator. And if I feel like I'm part of this like Sandler family when he comes out with a movie like this, where it's these same people, like visiting an old friend, which is like Jessie hates Grown Ups. She just doesn't get it. And I can watch Grown Ups and it makes me feel like I like everything's okay. Like I'm going to be fine. And I know that that's maybe silly, but I think that's the point of Adam Sandler, is he's making movies that make you feel like everything's okay.
Yeah.
Like life's okay and family's important. And there's always good messages with his movies. I know that they can knock him for being whatever, and like critics hate his movies.
Yeah.
But there's a reason we like it. And it's not just because it's funny. There's a heart to his storytelling that's, kind of authentic.
Yeah.
In reality, at least to me, it's authentic. And I know his personal life, right? He's married, he's got these kids, and he wants to tell stories that we can all kind of enjoy and participate in.
Yep.
And anyway, so I will start off with this.
Okay.
And talking about this movie, we'll get a little bit more targeted here, and I'll ask you the question. What did you think when you first heard Adam Sandler's character speak in this film?
Okay. Breed and I talked about this when the movie first started because we turned up the volume more. And then we talked about this after the movie. Adam Sandler does voices. He like he kind of does those like kind of voices and sounds. And he did a voice when he was in Little Nicky, which was not a great Sandler movie.
Right. No.
Some funny jokes, but not a great Sandler movie. This voice that he does in this movie, Hubie Halloween, isn't like as weird as kind of the like demonic-y type of voice he tried to use in Little Nicky. But the problem is that he uses a voice where I kind of feel like he trails off and drops a lot of his consonants at the end of words and at the end of sentences. And because of that, and because the volume drops down too when he does that, there was times when it made it kind of hard to understand. And I went, wait, what? And then like I'd pick up what he said based on context from other dialogue. And so like I get that he was trying to give this character a lovable yet goofy kind of some sort of character that like would be like you would live in town with this guy and you could see how people could easily pick on him, which does happen in this film.
Right.
And he's trying to give a reason, like he's trying to help give you more reasons as the viewer why, but it was a little too much over the top, just in enough that like it wasn't as bad as Bane in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not.
But it was one of those things I'm like, I almost wish I had closed captioning on it a few dialogue interchanges because it was rough. What did you think?
Yeah, when it started, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
He's got a Sandler voice on. Which typically in movies that he's got a Sandler voice on, it's hit or miss.
Yep.
And because there's a couple of them where I'm like, just drop the silliness. He's so silly, but there's some movies where he does it, and I just don't like it. I just don't. And it ends up altering my experience.
Little Nicky, that's that. Yeah. That's that one for me. Ooh.
Little Nicky and gosh, what's the one where he's Israeli?
Don't mess with a Zohan.
Yeah, I don't like that movie.
Yeah.
It's over the top. This one, after the first 5 minutes, I was good with it because I feel like the way he speaks, like I know that we're critiquing a Sandler movie here, and I'm trying to draw meaning from a Sandler movie, which is stupid, and I get it. But I do think that with Adam Sandler, there are reasons to why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I think it adds to his character that he's playing, that it adds to this uncomfortable, like mother lover, like Buster Bluth, sheltered kind of, kind of Asperger's, like awkward individual.
Yeah.
And after the first 5 minutes, I got used to it and I was fine with it. And it was actually quite funny at times because if you delivered this movie in his speaking voice, the laughs aren't as big. They're not there for me like they are when he speaks like that in certain points, right? Like they're it's just not as funny.
Yeah.
And so I definitely get where you're coming from, 100%. But also think of it like this: you can watch it again and again and again, and you might get something different from it because
that's true.
You're catching on to, speaking of Arrested Development, and then you're catching on to new jokes. So that was kind of one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, what did you think of the
voice? Yeah.
The voice, because that's something that really turns people off or they don't care that much. So I was curious.
Like I said, it wasn't bad. I got used to it, but right up front, right at the top, I was like,
it's a little shocking.
I was like, I don't know, and like I said, I also did not watch any of the trailers for this. Let me ask you this. Even though I know that this movie is meant to be in like modern times, because of the way they depict the location, which is Salem, Massachusetts, right?
Yeah.
So they got the backdrop of like the Salem witch trials, they're famous in town.
Yeah.
But the way that like everything is kind of dressed up in like Halloween decorations and decor, even going as far as a lot of the costumes that kids were wearing, even though obviously there was costumes like the Scream masks on a lot of the kids, which obviously is a movie from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a feeling of just like nostalgia just looking at the decorations. And I don't know if it's because they tried to not make everything super like hyper aggressive scary, but played more to like the childlike aspect of Halloween. Like you'd see like if your kids came home from school and they made like a Frankenstein thing to put up on the wall, or like a witch's hat cut out or something. Like
Right.
even though it didn't, like even though I know it wasn't set in the 1980s, I just feel like they were really trying to go for a very nostalgia feel to it. Did you pick up on any of that?
Yeah, I felt 90s. And I
Okay.
felt 90s because of Hocus Pocus. It reminded me a lot of Hocus Pocus in the set dressing. So to me, it felt very like early mid 90s to me. But I did get kind of that nostalgic throwback kind of feel. It wasn't like a bunch of use of technology like we
Right.
would now, and over the top really anything. So to me, it felt very 90s.
Yeah.
Just I don't know, that's just kind of how I felt about it. And I'm sure everybody probably got a different decade and era that they felt kind of related, but maybe that's really how it is out east. And I'll be honest, I've never really visited out east more than once in my life. I don't really know what it's like in fall, or have a small town during Halloween, and if it really feels like that. I like to pretend it does because it feels very cozy to me and
I grew
comfortable.
up in the Midwest, and like we used to have Pumpkin Fest that happened like the week right before Halloween, and
Yeah.
like went into Halloween, and like all the kids from like the elementary schools would carve pumpkins, and they'd go out on the
Mhm.
courthouse lawn, and people would come and walk around and look at pumpkins, and they'd get judged. And there was carnival, and there like
Yeah.
like a 10K run or whatever. Like it did like there it felt kind of like I mean, I've never been in the East during that period of time, but it did kind of feel like the Midwest that I grew up in.
Sure.
And so like and maybe also that's why I got a little bit of the nostalgia feel there.
Right.
But they also played like a whole bunch of music that felt very like, I don't know, like classic traditional
That's
Halloween
classic
movie.
Halloween.
Yeah, it was like
Absolutely.
you heard like the Monster Mash being
Mhm.
played, and like Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters that Hubie requests on the radio. It was
Yep.
like stuff like that. It wasn't like anything like that new. I mean, there
I
was
wonder
some, but
I also wonder if it's just because now it feels like we don't get a lot of family Halloween movies.
yeah,
Like when you really think about it, it's like I've got like that's not animated, right? You get like all the
yes,
Hotel Transylvania to
right.
Hotel Transylvania 20. Hopefully, I love the Hotel Transylvania movies. But there's not a lot of like live action family fun
Halloween movies.
kinds of Halloween movies until you go back to like the 90s with like Disney Channel movies like Halloween Town, or you go to Hocus Pocus. And
The Great
I mean,
Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
okay, that's animated, doesn't
Okay, all
count.
right.
But anyway, I get it. What I think what we're both trying to say is we liked the feel of what was going on, and
Yes.
it felt cozy and comfortable and fun, and just very, I don't know, very cozy. That's the only word I can think of. It's like a nice, fun family setting.
So I started thinking about this from the perspective like family film, right? Because I was like, is this something I could watch with my boys?
Right.
And I started going, no, not yet. I think
Right,
this
exactly.
definitely would be something I could watch with them later, but it's PG-13 for a reason. There's a little bit of language. There is some humor that is specific enough that you kind of go, yeah, you'd need to understand a little bit more in light. Like you'd have to understand some of the kids would have to go through adolescence and some puberty to understand a few references. And there was the vomiting portion right up near the top of the movie that like Brita turned off from. It was kind of a quick thing, but there's also a lot of stuff that I think plays to a lot of ages. And I went, okay, if this had been PG, like if they'd cut out some of those references to like puberty and stuff like that, and if they had cut out the vomit and a few like the Tim Meadows scene where he's in the car and he's like trying to like get his wife excited, she's like what are you doing? If they cut out a few of those things, I actually think they probably could have pared this down to a PG movie, and I don't think that they would have had to have sacrificed that much. I think they still could have done really funny stuff. That being said, there was a lot of stuff in there that I really enjoyed because I like Adam Sandler humor. Like he even included like little things like, so I think we've kind of alluded to it. Hubie gets picked on in town, and like there's kids, like teenage kids that like follow him around and like throw stuff at him, and one of the kids is named O'Doyle, and so he'll yell out O'Doyle rules, which is just completely a flashback throwback to Billy Madison.
Right.
And like if you're not an Adam Sandler guy, you might miss that reference, but for me it was like things like that that made me laugh and smile because like, oh, I get that reference to a movie that's now like 25 years old, right? So I'd say I wouldn't recommend this to a family with like small kids. Like I won't watch this with Charlie and Jackson for a number of years still. But if your kids are like 11, 12, 13, anywhere from about that on, I think you'd probably be okay.
Right. And they'll think it's funny. And I have the sense of humor that a child has because the vomit happened and I laughed hysterically.
Me
so
too.
Unexpected.
Me too.
I was like, oh, Rocky Balboa style.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so funny.
Also the
t-shirts
from the t-shirts, yes.
Oh like, man, that was funny.
The ongoing gag there, like I laughed at every one of those t-shirts, but I went, Charlie's just old enough now where he's starting to like really, really read. I was like, I couldn't explain why those t-shirts are funny. Like I couldn't do that.
It's a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was, look, I get it. And again, this is what Jessie thinks is just stupid. She just thinks that it's stupid. Not that it's like, Matt, you're so, but she probably does think I'm immature. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, she's not wrong.
But no, she's not.
Yeah.
But that's the stuff that isn't at all funny to her. And I'm like, I kind of question, like, what is it? Is it a sense of humor, or is it just like, I'm a guy and generally guys are more exposed to that kind of, I don't know.
I think a lot of guys find that stuff really, really funny during their adolescent years and don't necessarily grow out of that. Like, if like not necessarily like maybe like that's your personality and like that's like the jokes you always make with your buddies all the time. But if you go and watch an Adam Sandler film, you know that you're going to get some of that, and you're probably going because you like it, laughing at some of that stuff at times, bodily function humor, like that's like the vomit thing. Like I was like, whoa, and I laughed. I was like, yeah, that's because it's ridiculous and it's fake. However, it just comes out of nowhere. You're like, oh my gosh. Like, and it makes me laugh. Let's talk about the scariness of this movie, because it is a Halloween movie and was released digitally to Netflix. Like what? Like right at maybe the beginning of the month.
Yep.
So
October 7th, I think.
I'm gonna kind of approach this because you are the resident like horror, scary suspense guy.
Right.
I am not. I was a little nervous because, like I said, I did not watch the previews for this. I was a little nervous that this was going to be a more serious movie from Adam Sandler, which he has done some of those type of movies.
Yep.
Go watch the movie Reign Over Me. Like, that's a sad, depressing movie. I love it, but it's sad and depressing. So I was like, maybe he's going to take a more like serious turn. And there is some camera work in this movie that is done that is pretty traditional suspense. Like there's
Yes.
a shot where like you see what you think to be the perspective of someone that's getting ready to do something nefarious.
Yes.
But you don't get a
Yes.
full field of vision. You only kind of see out of two little triangles. So it kind of
Right.
limits that. And like you hear some heavy breathing. And like they do some of these things to help build suspense.
Mhm.
There was a few tiny little jump scares, nothing really crazy. I was full on expecting this to like make me like my blood pressure to rise and like
Okay.
make me have to like go like, okay, I need to watch something to kind of calm down before I go to bed.
Right.
And I
Right.
walked away from this movie going, nah, this is a comedy movie, and they used some classic kind of suspense slash Halloween techniques in order to build some suspense in a few moments, but then they quickly alleviate that suspense with Adam Sandler comedy.
Yep.
And so I never felt once that I was scared. I never felt that there was any real horror elements. I mean, they even mentioned like some things. I'm like, oh, this is going to go down this route and we're going to get into like the horror side and it's going to get bloody. And no, it's kind of like a red herring. They kind of nod towards that direction and then they take you right back to the laughter again.
Yeah.
And
That was a
so,
lot. That was a lot of this movie was just a lot of silly red herrings that didn't
Yep.
matter whatsoever.
yes,
But the function of making it a Halloween movie and a device to tell what the real story was.
Yep.
And yeah, I see. I had the opposite. I went in knowing and expecting this to be silly, and me hoping I'd get a few scares. I didn't, but that's okay with me. Um, there's maybe you could say there's one semi-scary part in a corn maze. That's like a little bit
Eh,
like, whoa, that was kind of crazy how that happened. That's the only thing I can think of where you could be like, that was scary. Um, Nothing else is scary. I
no,
mean, Hubie is the ultimate wimpy wimp who loves
yes,
Halloween. It's like it's just silly. It's just fun. It's yeah, I'm with you. It was a 0 out of 10 on the scare factor for me. Um and that's okay.
yeah. Yeah, I really was anticipating it was going to be more and I went, yeah, okay. This wasn't a it's not a horror movie. I wouldn't even say it's a suspense movie. I'd say
No,
it's a comedy
maybe
movie.
mystery.
Eh,
If you're really trying to give it something, you the only thing I can think of is giving it mystery. That's the only thing. It's not suspenseful and it's not scary and it's not
yeah.
thrilling. There
It's
is a mystery to it in
it's a
the
Halloween
middle
comedy.
portion,
I mean,
but that's it.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely say that if you're a little more like me and less like Matt and you don't like scary stuff, I think you're okay with this. And if you like Adam Sandler stuff, then definitely
Yeah.
you're fine. You're going to be fine with this.
Yep.
I'm trying to think like what else like I felt like there was a little bit of an attempt to have kind of like a I don't know, not even a romance, but just like a like they tried to have a good like moral story that's
Mhm.
kind of threaded throughout the movie and kind of like some like teaching moments maybe.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It was it was unexpected to me how forward and upfront the female character was in trying
Yes.
to it's opposite of what you expect. I
Yeah.
mean, which is what I liked about this. It really was not trying to do more than it needed to.
Yep.
Uh the love interest is it makes it funny because he's clueless
Yeah.
and he has absolutely no idea that she's into him, and she's making it so incredibly clear that anybody
Yes.
with any type of brain could figure out that she's into him. But he's so far off in saving Halloween, he's got nothing else on his mind and certainly isn't thinking about it. But yeah, Julie Bowen plays it great, I think.
Yeah.
And what I was telling Jesse when I finished watching this movie was what I always like about Adam Sandler's movies, and particularly now that he's like 50, they're always age appropriate. Like,
Yeah.
they're not. It's rare that it's like,
He's doing more that like his own family will watch because he's got kids.
yeah, they're not trying to go over the top with like a
Yeah.
sex appeal or something like
Right.
that. I mean, as far as like age differences and like, I don't know. That's just how I watch it. And I went, this kind of makes sense. Julie Bowen is a great actress who looks to me like the girl next door,
Yeah.
like just like a nice, cute, like mom.
Yeah, the girl next door in her
And
40s. Yeah.
and Adam Sandler looks like just like a dude in his late 40s, just chilling, just being like dad bod. And
Yeah.
like it makes sense. What I'm trying to say is the love story makes sense. Adam Sandler never tries to go over the top with that, at least with his love interests. Anyway, I liked it. I thought it was a cute little add-on.
Yeah. I liked
Certainly
it.
not essential.
I liked it too. Is it going to be my favorite Adam Sandler movie? No.
Mhm.
Is it going to be an Adam Sandler movie that I will watch again in next year when Halloween comes around? Yeah, absolutely. It's actually like going to be on the short list of movies that I will watch around Halloween that are suspenseful, Halloween themed. Because, you know, I can handle it because I'm a wimp.
Yeah, I get it. And I think that for me, I could just talk on and on and on about this movie, but I'll stop.
Yeah.
And I will say that I just kind of going off of kind of what your thread is, this is a must watch every Halloween for me now, at least one time.
Okay.
This
Yeah.
is like up there with my short list, which is Hocus Pocus. And that's really all the short list is. I have to watch Hocus Pocus, but I'm going to add Hubie Halloween to that list of movies that I have to watch, and I will get Jessie to watch it. And I think she'll like it more than she thinks, just like Brita. Like, it's a little bit better than I thought.
Yeah.
And for me, it definitely is a must watch. Is it, and like you said, is it the best Adam Sandler movie I've seen? No. But I am interested in asking you kind of in your quadrant, let's just say top tier, middle tier, lowest tier of Adam Sandler films, where does it rank and what is your favorite Adam Sandler movie? That's what I want to know from you.
Oh gosh. I'd say like if I'm ranking in tiers, top, middle, bottom, I'd say this is in the middle because it's funny. It is a little older Adam Sandler where the movies are transitioning more into movies that like he makes with just all of his friends and that he can he can probably show to his kids that are like preteen teenagers, which his kids were in this movie with him. It's not on the low end movies that like I won't go back and rewatch. Like those movies to me are like Don't Mess with the Zohan, I think Bulletproof, Punch Drunk Love, like movies that like I went Click, like that's in there.
You don't like Click. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. What's my favorite Adam Sandler movie? See, that's the like this is now like that's a very hard question because
I agree. And you probably need a list of them all up because you're going to forget one. You're going to go, how could I forget?
Because I love Adam Sandler movies. And like if I go back to like some of the early stuff that I first fell in love with, I mean Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore and The Waterboy are like right at the top there. But then like he got into this whole phase where he started doing like the romantic comedies like The Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
The Wedding Singer to me was great, and 50 First Dates and Blended. And then he kind of got into the whole like, Just Go With It and
I forgot about Just Go With It.
The two Grown-Ups movies. Like honestly, Matt, I don't know that I can give you a solid answer on what would be my favorite. Like I would have to sit down and I would have to like honestly like put some real thought into
Yeah.
What? Because for me, there's like that. There's just that top tier that I look at and go, I can watch. Like if someone says, "Hey, we're gonna watch The Wedding Singer," okay,
Yeah.
great. I will sit down and I will watch that. If they say, like Brita loves Blended, we've probably watched that movie 6 or 7 times together. And
Yeah.
she's like, let's just watch something we've seen before, but something that's fun. She'll say, let's just toss in Blended. All right, toss in Blended. So I don't know. Like I'd have to think about that more. What about you? Where do you put this movie? Top, middle, bottom,
Yeah.
and then what's your favorite if you can give that?
Sure. So for me, this is a top tier Adam Sandler movie. I just loved it. Now it's eked up to the top because of the Halloween trimmings of the film.
Okay.
I love Halloween, and if this were like not Halloween setting, it would probably be like an upper mid tier because I really did like it. But it being set in Halloween, one of my favorite things, it having like Noah Schnapp from Stranger Things,
Yeah.
and like the stories being told are like about good kids. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like so often we get poor portrayals of teenagers, and this is a movie where the teenagers are portrayed like as caring individuals who love each
Yeah.
other and like are genuine like good kids who want to like help Hubie and not be jerks. Like you see the
And
jerks,
and Hubie treats them as like adults. He doesn't like treat them as like
right,
children. He's like, I know you're trying to do the right thing, so I'm gonna let this slide. I'm not gonna tell your mom. Make sure you
right.
take it. Like I was like, oh, that's a great way to portray that. So anyway, just on kind of both sides of that coin there.
Yeah, so just from a lot of different aspects of it, for me, this does it's in the top tier of Adam Sandler movies. Um, Now for my favorite Adam Sandler movie, it's Grown Ups, almost for sure, hands down,
Mm.
eyes closed. I could quote the movie and just have an enjoyable time. I
Such a good
love Grown
movie.
Ups. And
Such
I
a good
will
movie.
agree with Brita, and I was going to bring this up when talking about Adam Sandler movies. Blended is an underrated Adam Sandler
Yeah.
movie that more people need to watch and be talking about because it's so funny. And now that everybody loves Terry Crews all of a sudden,
Yeah.
go back and he pops up from time to time and it's hilarious.
Dude, that's such a good movie. I guarantee if I went upstairs right after we're done recording, I said, hey, let's toss on Blended. I guarantee I watch it tonight. Like, I was about to say I'd put my $1,000,000 that I'm going to win from you back up for grabs.
Okay.
But that's a guarantee, so I'm not going to. I'm still going to take
Yeah.
your $1,000,000. But, I'll give you a $10 bet.
I hear you. Now, what's interesting is now there are so many ways. I mean, we're talking about Adam Sandler, and now that I have the chance and I have a platform to talk about Adam Sandler, I'm going to. There's his Happy Madison production,
Yeah.
and they do more than just movies that Adam Sandler is in. Typically, he's in them. He's in like 95% of them, but
Yeah.
there are some Happy Madison movies that he's not in. And including Grown Ups, the greatest Happy Madison film for me is The Benchwarmers.
Really?
That is one of the funniest movies I have ever seen in my life. It might be the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life. And I just wanted to give a plug to The Benchwarmers, which has David Spade and Rob Schneider and John Heater from Napoleon Dynamite,
Yeah.
along with like Tim Meadows, and some of the gang is in that movie. For some reason, that movie just tickles me in the funny spot perfectly. So I just had to give a shout out before we ended the podcast. I had to throw some love to The Benchwarmers.
I don't remember watching that movie and thinking much of it. If I'm being
Well, not many do, and I
Yeah.
don't think any less for people who don't think it's hilarious, but it's special.
Okay.
It's just special to me.
Okay, fair enough. So here's the thing. I think we got to bring this back just a little bit since the podcast does release the day before Halloween. And
2 days before.
2 days before, yeah, because I keep thinking Halloween's on Friday, but it's on
I know,
Saturday.
so do I.
I blame last week with the whole getting off by a day. I'm still
Absolutely.
off, yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Eventually, like I think here in the States, we're gonna get the fall back here in another weekend or
Week. Oh
week.
man.
So like that maybe will help us reset our clocks a little bit, Matt, and
Yeah, we'll see.
readjust us. I don't know. But the question that I want to ask to the Super Friends is, what is your favorite Halloween movie? I don't care if it's horror, if it's suspense, if it's a family movie. I'm curious to hear what are people's favorite Halloween movies. Like, what's that one movie at Halloween or around Halloween time that you have to watch? Like, it's on your list. For Matt, it's Hocus Pocus. For me, since I don't like scary movies, I don't know that I really have a Halloween movie. So maybe it's going to have to be Hubie Halloween by default.
Nice.
I mean, I'd have to look at a list of like what's considered Halloween movies. Maybe The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Maybe that's it, because that's true. I do watch The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown every year, and I get it. I know it's an animated, but that's fine. This doesn't matter. Question of the week, what's your one... Oh, no, it's Great Pumpkin. Great Pumpkin, and then it's going to be Hubie Halloween. Oh. What Super Friends is your... Squirrel! What is your favorite Halloween movie? What is that one Halloween movie you watch every year? Give us those answers. We will talk about them live when we record next week, which will come just like 2 days after Halloween, while everyone's still hopped up on a sugar high from those frozen Snicker bars that were thrown at them with a t-shirt cannon and or leaf blower. And we'll talk about that next week. Matt, happy Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween.
From all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there wherever you may be, may the Force be with you always. Boo!